In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to the Development Report on People's 105.5 FM, where we'll talk about pressing issues surrounding sustainable development. I'm all about everything development, from women's empowerment, children's rights, climate change, water resources, food waste, waste management, and more. I am Ife Onyekwiri, and together we'll be coming close to our common good as a nation as we look into local solutions for global challenges, Nigeria's role in climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. And I won't be doing this alone. I have an amazing guest in the studio. I have Usman Mohammed Mareri, and he's the founder and executive director of Center for Renewable Energy and Action on Climate Change. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing today?
Fine.
All right. So talking about Nigeria's role in climate change, adaptation and mitigation, as the world battles the effect of climate change, some innovative Nigerians, like my guest right here, are developing strategies to adapt and mitigate these challenges, from clean cooking solutions to renewable energy to large-scale tree planting programs, amongst other efforts that is going on in our country. And our guest here will be doing justice to the topic before us. You can join the conversation on People's 105.5 FM on our social media spaces, and then on telephone you can send in your messages on WhatsApp via 0911 112 1055, and you can reach me on telephone. You can also call in on 0911 222 1055, and you can follow me on Twitter at TDEV Report. Report. All right, straight up, we'll be taking the development news stories shortly, and when we come back, we'll be going into deeper conversation. Now the headlines: Lagos State to ban single-use plastics and sachet water. UN report shows 85% of climate plans now include gender integration. Global framework on chemicals launches first call for green and sustainable projects. The Lagos State government has announced plans to ban single-use plastics and sachet water from January 2025 as part of its efforts to manage plastic waste and promote environmental sustainability. Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, confirmed this during a stakeholders workshop as he emphasized the need for guidelines on plastic use. Meanwhile, industry stakeholders have also called for gradual implementation to allow for gradual compliance in light of the economic challenges. A new report from the United Nations Climate Change Secretariat reveals that 85% of parties now reference gender in their climate action plans, including nationally determined contributions, NDCs. Executive Secretary of UN Climate Change, Simon Still, made this known as he stated that the combination of both climate action with gender equality is important for transformative change. While progress has been made, the report emphasizes the need for further efforts, particularly in developed countries, to strengthen gender integration in climate policies. Global Framework on Chemicals has issued its first call for projects aimed at improving the safe management of chemicals and waste. This comes after its adoption in Bonn last year. Director of the UNEP's Industry and Economic Division says the initiative seeks to protect health and the environment by addressing pollution with grants of $800,000 for projects in disadvantaged countries. Selected projects will focus on sustainable solutions and require co-financing, ensuring long-term impact beyond the initial funding period. And that's it on the development news segment. Keep it right locked here as we discuss more on the topic before us today. All right, before we actually continue this conversation, I'd like us to talk about this. How would you react to the recent news of Lagos State, set to ban single plastic use of sachet water? How does that come to you?
Yeah, it's surprising to say.
Really?
Yes, because as a developing country, many people will have no to this, but this is a very step forward in terms of addressing plastic waste, because it has been a problem. It contributes a lot towards flooding and rest. Especially look at case of Lagos, we have sea level rise as part of climate change in that area, and plastic waste has really contributed in that regard. So it's a very good step in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely it is.
Amazing. All right, so we're going to take a music break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with our guest, who is a specialist in environmental issues, and then we'll dive into the discussion for today. Keep it locked.
The land is green, it's green, oh.
So we're going to start the real conversation now after this break.
It's green, and you see,
I can see all the lovers is ready. He told me so.
It's green.
Hi, Mati. Who is this? Manti Hemnat. Hi. Oh my God. Okay, let me see if I can share this on my. I'm great, thank you. I'm fine. I'm great, thank you. I know. That's my producer. That's my guest. I see now, I understand, I know.
So I embrace it then. In the rain and storm, I seek to grow. Every prayer, every seed I sow, Lord of the harvesting, I'm looking back a hundredfold. The land is green, it's green, oh. The land is green, it's green, and you see, the harvest is ready. The Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. Stand alone, can you have it? No. My bones I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, it's your will I'm seeking. So I keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it.
When we're about to start, tell me.
No, you are the one, you are the one that will tell me.
Every tear I've flown, Lord of the harvest moon, I'm moving joy of the soul.
The land is green, it's green.
Oh. The land is green, it's green, and you see, the harvest is ready.
The harvest is ready. He told me so. Green and it's all.
We educate, we entertain other people's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
All right. It's still the development report, and I'm here with Usman Mohammed Marare, who's the founder and executive director for Center for Renewable Energy and Action on Climate Change. And today we're going to be discussing local solutions for global challenges, Nigeria's role in climate change adaptation and mitigation. You can join the conversation by contributing on WhatsApp via the number 0911 112 1055, and on telephone you can reach us on 0911 222 1055. And you can also follow the conversation on Twitter at TDEV Report, TDEV Report. All right, what would you do differently as a Nigerian? If we, in the course of this discussion, let's see what you have, to impute in this conversation, because gradually it's coming very close to us. I was having a conversation before before we became live on studio, and the reality is we're coming closer to it every day. All right, so great to have you in the studio here today, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so how would you describe Nigeria's most pressing climate challenges right now? What is it like right now?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, as a country, we have different climatic weather conditions.
That's right.
In the north, we have issues of desertification, and in the south, we have problem. Southwest, in particular, we have sea level rise, impacts of sea level rise with the melting glaciers in the Arctic. And we also have problem of erosion and land degradation in the southeast part of the country and south. So there is peculiarity of these impacts in each region, and we have seen how these impacts have been affecting the whole country.
Oh, amazing.
In general, especially wiping out small farmlands in the northern part of the country, and frequent flooding in the south, also soil erosion in the south and southeast of the country.
Okay, all right. So, given your extensive work in clean cooking solutions and planting programs, how did these initiatives specifically contribute to climate mitigation in different parts of Nigeria, except if you're focused on just one part, based on the different climatic conditions we have around the country? So, how does this contribute to the country as a whole?
Yeah, coincidentally, I'm traveling to Washington, D.C. tomorrow for an impact what we received because of one of our projects in the country, especially it's a solar power project that contributes health, climate change, like desertification, controlling desertification. It's like a 4-in-1 project.
Okay.
So because of the innovation and aid, we got an award in the US. So this is part of the projects we have been implementing over the years to contribute towards climate change mitigation and adaptation. In the sense that it's not only about empowering people.
Okay.
How do you contribute towards this climate mitigation? Through planting trees, through providing solar energy, through providing climate resilient crops that can help withstand the harsh weather conditions. So we have been working over the last 12 years in terms of renewable energy, access to energy, clean energy, and also reversing desertification through climate resilient trees, and also empowering people through these home gardens to have inputs that they can help address food insecurity, because climate change comes with food insecurity, and this has been the projects, the programs we have been rolling over the years.
Okay, talking about the crops you've mentioned, are there specific kind of crops like that? Can you do justice to that so we get a deep knowledge of what you mean by that?
Yeah. So, for example, now when you look at in the home gardens project we have been carrying out, we look at vegetable gardens, and at the same time we do what we call tree propagation for the native trees that are on the verge or that they are threatened.
Okay.
Yes. the acacia trees, the baobabs, and the rest. So we're trying to see how can we contribute towards climate change mitigation or adaptation by maintaining those efficient trees, those like locally made trees over the years, the traditional trees that we have been. Because when I was a child, I know there are trees that have been, the fruits that have been seen over the years, but now they have ceased to exist. So those are the trees we are trying to revive, to bring them back because they are being threatened. Even though they are still existing, but the availability of them in the market
it's very scarce.
Very
So would you attribute this to human activities? Is this the reason why we're having shortage of these particular trees you actually talking about?
Yeah.
And what is the impact for us as a people?
Yeah. So in climate change impact, like we have anthropocentrism as people contributions to climate change. And
That's
we
right.
also have natural. So the anthropocentrism, if you look at it, people fell down trees. These trees, when they fell down these trees, they don't replant them. And if these people know about this, there are like thousands of trees are being fell down. Nigeria, according to UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, that has the highest rate of deforestation of small forests in the world. And these trees are being fell down. The charcoal, they have been exporting it to countries like Dubai. And the country is aware. And we are not doing anything to like checkmate this, because if you fell down a tree, a single healthy tree absorbs more than 30 kg of CO2. So if you fell the tree and that same CO2 will go back to the atmosphere, and they will end up like using these trees for charcoal, for home cooking, and the rest.
Well, I actually feel like there are more sensitizations. Like you mentioned, people who take down this to make charcoals and the rest and then export it, right? There are more sensitization to, telling a lot of people, oh, you make more money when you export this product outside. But why are we having a shortage in, orientation or information to tell people that this is the implication of what's going on? If you have to export this, then this is what we're going to be facing as a people. Why do we have that shortage of information?
I think the government is trying their own. NGOs also working on climate change.
Okay.
Environment are trying their own, but it's not enough. I think there is largely very low awareness campaigns around issues of climate change and its impact. For example, if somebody knows that the breeze we air comes from this tree, if you fell this tree, for example, the repercussions, the implications are enormous. One will say, even if I'm doing the business of charcoal export, if I know what the damage I'm impacting in the environment, I will be held responsible for whatever comes out of it.
Accountability.
Yes, so people are not accountable, they are just looking for the profit part of it. They are not looking for the impact these things have.
Let's talk about community engagement, because I believe your NGO has done one or two things as regards community. And so how can local communities, especially those in vulnerable areas, be more involved in designing and implementing climate adaptation and mitigation?
Yeah, very important. Because
Okay.
every project that you design without the community's concept, without their input, without them being part of designing the project, it fails to. It failed definitely in the long run.
So there has to be involvement.
They have to be involved. They have to be part of the designing, and even the concept, the initiatives they need to be involved, especially for the sustainability of the project.
That's right.
And it's same thing with what we have been having over the years. Like
Okay.
every project we're going to implement, the community will be involved. Because at the end of the day, if the communities are not involved, then the sustainability of that project has some question marks. If you look at some federal projects, after 2-3 years of implementation and you go back, you tend to have nothing on ground. And some of the equipment have been stolen because the communities actually it's not what they really need. But because maybe there is no that there is what we call pre-survey that you conduct before carrying a project. Let the people tell you what exactly they need. When they tell you and you put it in your project, then you have like more impact on every project. So most of these projects, there are many projects like, for example, in Sokoto that we visited.
Okay.
It's about fish farming through solar energy that the federal ministries have carried out. If you go back now, the whole area has been like the solar panels have been installing, everything has been cutted away.
Then it makes it look as if efforts are not being made.
Yes, and these people is not actually what they need. Because they don't have like a river close to them that they are not doing fish farming. So get a community that are doing fish farming, set up these projects for them. It will be more impactful than for a community that are not into fish farming.
Amazing.
In this community, probably they are into tomatoes. They are farming tomatoes. But get a system or climate resilient crops like tomatoes. There are species that are very, very good when it comes to harsh weather. So provide this input for them. Provide create a center that can help train or empower this community on climate resilient tomatoes. So that will have more impact. But the community is into this and you are bringing something entirely new to them. So
There will be lots of struggles.
Exactly.
Okay. Talking about that, let's look at the economic impact of climate adaptation initiatives like the ones you're very you mentioned clean energy solutions and tree plantings. Does this have an impact on the economy, right? And how does it improve the economy? If we're going to be taking this, if we're going to be contributing as a people, right? Does it have a contribution in our economy, Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we look at adaptation on one hand,
Okay.
and mitigation on the other hand, let's start with adaptation. Adaptation is in the sense that when the climate change, when the impact hits, how will the community adapt to the impact, like by establishing or creating some infrastructure, like flood driven communities. How do you create some projects that when this flooding comes, they will be able to adapt to such situation? And by creating an atmosphere for these people that their farmlands will be protected from this effect of drought, land degradation, and desertification. And if you look at, on the other hand, on the mitigation part of it, we are looking at energy efficient, we are looking at energy access, clean energy access, through solar energy, through wind, through more of hydro, that not large hydro, because they say the large hydro stations are contributing to climate change, but small hydro contribute to food security and at the same time addressing climate change.
That's right.
How do we create mini ice dams that will help reduce the impact? And by investing in climate change adaptation and mitigation, you are building communities, you are providing jobs, and you are at the same time creating multiple opportunities that have not been there before.
So it apparently from everything you just mentioned now, there is actually a huge advantage, and it has an effect on the economy in a positive way. All right, let's look at the youth involvement part, because I know you're a youth person, being a youth the youth coordinator at the United Nations University Regional Center for Expertise in Kano. So how have young people seen the how have they contributed to climate change adaptation and mitigation, and what more can be done to empower the youth? Because Nigerians are very creative people. I say this all the time. Nigerians are very creative people. How far have we gone as young people to ensure that we are contributing to mitigation and adaptation, and what more can be done to empower or encourage young people?
Yes. So at the ESD projects at Bayero University, Kano, we have this annual conference and we have this sustainability ambassadors program we have established.
Oh, great.
And this sustainability ambassadors program brings students from more than 15 universities across the country.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and every year we bring in new ambassadors. And so the whole idea for this
From every state.
not every state, we select
Okay.
from universities
Okay.
across the country and we bring the students
Oh, amazing.
down to Bayero University Kano and we train them for like 3 to 5 days, and after that we keep on doing these fellowships then for a year. And after that we graduate them and we bring in another set.
Are there other people? Are there opportunities for people who are not students? Probably young people like me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the program mainly is looking at the universities.
Okay.
Yes, but along the line, the RCs are looking out for those that are not students and they
Okay.
have some initiative and they can contribute. Then we also bring them on board.
Amazing.
Yes. So, but the whole idea is how do you change someone's perspective as a young person, as a young student coming up before the university, before he graduates from the university, how do you bring him on board? So that's the whole idea.
Okay. Particularly, I want to I'm stressing for the youth right now because Nigeria is a country that has a large population of young people. So how do you think we can improve more beyond the scope of your reach of your NGO? How do you think we can actually go beyond that? How can more people get involved? How can we allow, if I'm walking down the street and then I meet a layman, the layman can say, okay, I'm aware of mitigation strategies, or I'm into this, I'm planning. How do we get there to ensure that there are young people who are actually aware of what's going on? Because whether we like it or not, the effect of climate change is becoming glaring and it's drawing by the day, closer by the day. So how do we get to this point?
The Federal Ministry of Education and Federal Ministry of Environment needs to collaborate on this. It needs to be like part of students' curriculum. The universities, primary schools, from our primary schools up to the university.
So people can be enlightened.
Exactly. And looking at informal sector, let's get the traditional rulers. Let's get religious leaders in our churches and our mosques. Let's these people make these pronouncements in their sermons, like the impact of climate change, the environment, because I'm sure both religions emphasize on sustainable environment.
Exactly.
Yes, both religions. So how do you bring traditional rulers, religious leaders from the government part of it through the NGOs and the people side? And what you're doing is part of creating awareness about climate change.
That's right.
Yes. So these are the things that we need to put in place to make people more aware. Because if you look at the whole of Africa contributes less than 5% global emissions. Yes. The impact we have is more than any other continent.
But why is this? I want us to. That's a very critical. That's a very critical thing.
Yeah.
If we're contributing less and then we're bearing a very large part of the impact, we need to talk about. Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. That
We educate,
bed sound was not
we
playing.
entertain.
It was playing because
We are
this
the
thing,
people's
I did not even know that
105.5
this is
FM,
press.
Abuja. People, 105.5 FM. It's all about you.
Ready?
No.
It was playing. I did not even know that. Your hand covered. I didn't even know that when you bring this in it's not.
Okay. All right. We're ready to go now. All right, we're still discussing local solutions to global challenges, Nigerians' role in climate change adaptation and mitigation. And you can start sending in your contribution to the WhatsApp number 091 112 1055. I take that again, you can send in your contributions to 0911211055, and you can also call in on 09112221055, and on Twitter you can join the conversation at TDEV Report. So talking about, before we went on that break, you mentioned something that is quite interesting to know. If we contribute a lesser, if we have a lesser contribution to the effect of climate change, then why are we facing the impacts we're facing right now? What's going on?
So it's very important question, because if you look at the developed world, like the global north, if you say global north, including the US, the United States, Canada, the European Union, and the rest, they have this sophisticated satellite system that they can detect weather changes in weather conditions, and they can take measures for that happens.
Okay.
And Africans don't have this technology. In Africa, we don't have this technology. And mostly because they said the world is a global village, what happens in the United States can affect someone in China. And what happens in China can affect someone.
So where do you want to bear this?
Yes.
Why Africa? Why?
So if you look at where Africa is situated, the location, the geolocation of Africa, in terms of major sunlight, the rays, yes, it contributes, it's one part of it. And another issue is that Africans don't have this technology to help their farmers, to help people adapt to this climate.
Okay.
And we also major funding to address these issues. And if you look at the whole debate at the UNFCCC, that's United Nations Convention on Climate Change, before loss and damage fund could be set up, there is like tens of heated discussions about creating loss and damage fund, because the global north are saying, look, though we contribute to climate change impact, but we are not going to be held like 100% responsible. And that's not true, because they contribute largely to this climate change effect. And they should pay for the damages that yes, through flooding. Then the loss and damage fund should be used to help augment the impact among those smaller countries, like the major countries that is being heated by this climate change, is small island nations. In these small island nations, their countries are being like swallowed up by sea level rise. And so through that loss and damage fund and adaptation fund, they used to help the smaller countries adapt to climate change. So funding is one part of it, technology is another, and at the same time awareness, we have said, is very important. So for example now, if Nigeria can help its farmers with some weather forecasting system using Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, it can detect the weather. And say, okay, there will be drought this year, from this time to this time, through some algorithms they will be using.
But are we not capable?
We are very, very capable.
Okay, because
But you know, everything that comes that has to do with probably giving out a contract or a project, government will say, okay, after you have done this, we pay.
Okay.
And the contractors are like, so how am I gonna know that I'm going to get profit from this? Because the contractor all he knows is profit. And if I import these maybe machines, or I set up this system, how am I going to be paid? Like, is this money coming soon?
They
How
need
long will
assurance
take?
about
Yes.
it.
Yes. So, for example, the government, sometimes some projects need to be carried out by the government itself, like government to government.
Okay.
Yes. If, for example, we need a technology on setting up algorithms on weather forecasting systems, how do we approach countries that have this technology? Because some of these countries have the technology, but they will not want to give it out. There are more technologies that are of a breakthrough to tackle major problems around the world, but some countries are hiding their own technology. They don't sell it, they don't export it, they don't. It's like someone steals something from you.
Oh.
Yes, there are these technologies, but countries tend to like hide these technologies for their own benefits.
Amazing.
And in Africa, we spend less in research and development. And if you look at countries like Germany, even though they are developed countries, we cannot compare ourselves with countries in the developed north. But at least we need to send a huge amount of money in research and development. That is only where we can have problems and tackle those problems locally because of the funding the research and development.
Amazing. Okay. I want us to touch policy frameworks. Okay. What role would you say that national policies such as Nigeria's Climate Change Act, play in supporting local adaptation and mitigation, and are they sufficient? Very necessary.
Yes. For example, setting of NCCC Nigeria's
Climate-
Council on Climate Change is one thing, but managing that is another thing. Creating sustainable initiatives, innovative ideas to run the country towards to become more climate resilient is another thing. I think recently there is this change of affairs of NCCC, which has crumbled so many initiatives. To say, I'm not trying to say what government did is wrong,
Yeah.
but it has sent like negative image of the whole NCCC to the global mechanisms of climate change, biodiversity, and also the adaptation, if you look at it from one angle. And changing leadership sometimes create vacuum.
How does that come into
For example, now we are going to COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, and if you can tell me Nigeria may not have a pavilion, and this will be the first time Nigeria attending such a very important event without a pavilion. So Nigerians will be roaming about from Chadian pavilion to Niger's pavilion, all these things. Though many countries don't have pavilion because it's quite expensive. But in the past, we see how they have like tweaked around some of these funders to have a pavilion in Nigeria. For Nigeria, for example, in Dubai, I think there was the pavilion was small, and they have to like create a way to expand it so that by Nigeria's image as the most populous in Africa and the giant of Africa, you don't just come and see a pavilion like a room. So you need to have a very spacious place where these visitors will come, Nigerians will go, they'll have their own events. Now, if I want to organize an event at COP29, I have to like go to another country and beg. Even though I know I have a Nigeria's pavilion that I'll pay small token of money to organize my event and sell my innovative ideas. So those are some of the challenges that we have been having over the years. As a country, we are trying, but we need to do more. Let's say.
So talking about, I want you to just round off to talk about how sustainability can play in the strategies that are being put in place as regards mitigation and adaptation. For every NGO doing wonderful work, including yours, for every CSO, for everyone like independent people like this, doing stuff around, mitigation and adaptation. What would you encourage to ensure that we do not just do, like you mentioned, some of these projects are just being done, and after a while we go back there and nothing is going on. How do we ensure sustainability for climate change, adaptation, and mitigation?
So for every project you are designing, you need to integrate sustainability and good part of it. For example, if funding stops, will the project continue to survive? Will it continue to exist? Yes. Then, for example, in some of our projects, we try to integrate some of initiatives that will bring in money to that same project. The project is there, but on the other hand, there is something that generates income for that project. Because, for example, now we set up a healthcare system in a very remote corner that don't have even access to electricity. Very remote corner, and powered with solar. So the clinic itself cannot generate money because
Just the
people,
small,
yes, but integrating like a tree nursery center, because there will be availability of water, we set up water system. That's tree propagation and tree nursery for this very efficient seedlings, like climate resilient seedlings, especially the vegetables like onions, pawpaw, anything that the nursery will raise and sell to the market.
To ensure there's profit coming
Yes, there is
in.
profit coming in. We set up that, and we set up like a system of checks and balance with the district head, a youth leader, a woman leader in the community, as a signatory to a bank account. Every time this thing is being sold, then the money goes back to that account. And
For the continuation of the
yeah,
project.
somebody cannot just come and withdraw that money without consent of the community itself. So that has really helped some of these projects that have been ongoing in our own NGO.
Amazing. Great to have you in the studio today. You've really done justice to the topic, local solutions to global challenges. That was Usman Mohammed Marari in the studio. He's the founder of Center for Renewable Energy and Action on Climate Change. And we hope to have you again and again in the studio. Okay, I have Haruna Onimisi Yusuf. He said, okay, just like the speaker has said, to achieve net zero on climate change, both cooperative entities and individuals have great roles to play. I think we agree with that. All hands needs to be on deck to ensure that we have sustainability of the projects that we're doing as regards mitigation and adaptation. Unfortunately, we have to come to an end of the show. We have to call it a wrap here, and like we always do, whenever we take a wrap on the show, we'll take a moment to celebrate community champions who are turning trash to treasure. We love you and everything you do. The environment, very priceless. All right, thank you to our esteemed guests, everyone who has joined us for this conversation today. Thank you also to our guests. Great to have you in the studio, and we will hope to have you some other time. And to my amazing producer in the studio here, Mr. Hyacinth Akman, great to have you in the studio, and also to Mr. Charles Kalu, great to have you too. You can join us next week for another captivating episode of the Development Report, as we also continue our journey towards a brighter and more sustainable future. Here's a quote to think upon: sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future. I am Ife Onyekwere. Do have a wonderful weekend as we meet to discuss development issues. Same time next week. Bye.